Happy holidays, guys, and here's the Edelbrock Victor intake manifold and the Edelbrock heads, courtesy of S&M Performance. Make sure you guys go check them out. I'll provide a link in the description. Well, many of you guys know that I'm sponsored by Edelbrock, and that's through S&M Performance. Basically, they sent me this intake manifold and heads to test them out to prove that they make power. So I'll be reviewing them in the near future. Right now I'm just doing a slight unboxing, basically basic components, what comes in it. I'm going to compare it to this stock intake manifold over here and tell you guys the noticeable differences. So those of you that don't know about the Edelbrock intake manifold, so this is a 6-1 style intake manifold made for the Gen 3 Hemis. It's supposed to make more power than the stock intake manifold and hold a lot more boost. But they said it can make power with just mild bolt-on, so that's one of the things I'm going to be testing out. Box is already open, but I'm going to just go over the components that you get when you buy the Edelbrock intake manifold, what you expect to get. So first and foremost, the actual intake manifold seems pretty high quality, but it doesn't seem really scuff resistant. It looks like got a scratch right there, and I mean, that's not a biggie to me. I don't care, but somebody might. So the throttle body area, it's machined pretty nicely. So are the runners. It seems like it could be machined out a little bit more. Inside the runners is pretty rough. That's the only issue I see with it, but it's pretty high quality. These intake manifolds, it's likely going to get oily on the inside once in a while, so they included a removable belly pan so you could get in there and clean it up. You got all your gaskets here. This is the only thing that I feel is pretty low quality, but I mean, they should get the job done. The next component we have here is just the area you pour your oil. So this will go, you know, right here. Pour your oil in there, and here's all your hardware. So these are the fuel rails. They're really nice. I really like them. I know they don't come with the intake manifold. You have to buy them separately. You get all this nice braided lines, pretty nice fittings. It's a big improvement over the stock fuel rails here. Looks pretty cheaply made. They sent me some Edelbrock gloves. I'm not sure if this is standard, but pretty nice. In comparison to the stock intake manifold here, this Edelbrock intake manifold is metal and this is plastic. That's the biggest difference between both of them, and it doesn't have the snout like the 392 intake manifold. Here's my airbox tube I fabricated. I thought it was pretty cool to do a little transparency in the middle. So you're gonna have to change your airbox tube if you're going with this intake manifold. Yeah, basically the throttle body would be just right there, and the airbox tube is gonna go on just like that. Next thing, weight-wise, this thing is at least twice the weight of the stock intake manifold. Like, I could barely pick it up with one hand, and this thing is very light. So that's another thing. So I'm gonna be adding a little bit of more weight to the scat pack. That's unfortunate, but so hopefully with the power it's supposed to make, it doesn't hinder the car too much. The car is already heavy. It's about 40 to 100 pounds, give or take. Another big thing I noticed about an Edelbrock intake manifold, it's single plane runners, not dual plane like the stock intake manifold. So Yeah. My take on that is this thing will make more power than the stock intake manifold, but I might lose some low end power because basically the dual plane intake manifold at lower RPM, parts of the manifold are closed to produce a little bit more power than open up on high RPM. So I might lose a little bit of low end power with that. For those of you that are running nitrous, if you're running a plate system with this intake manifold, they give you areas you could plummet with a fogger. For direct port nitrous, it's a lot safer than a plate system. So an advantage of direct port nitrous, the nitrous will actually be more evenly distributed throughout the motor, so you're less likely to blow it. That's one good thing about this intake manifold. I plan to do that in the future, so I could pick up some power, use this thing for what it's basically made for before I go boost. As for dyno numbers, my plan is to do a pull with just the intake manifold, just get some runs in, get some pulls in with just the intake manifold, because I know a lot of you guys, you're not gonna buy the heads too. So I'm gonna see if the intake manifold alone makes power, and then I will do intake manifold and heads to see how much I gained or how much I lost. Here are the Edelbrock heads. So these heads equipped with 1511 valve springs, so they'll support a high lift cam. That's one good thing about them, but other than that, they have a lot of room for improvement. I believe Edelbrock left them rough. Purposely, the exhaust and intake ports are pretty rough. I believe they left that there so you could get your own porting, whether you wanted a large port, small port. But yeah, the intake and exhaust is pretty rough. These heads are equipped with bigger valves than the Apache heads, so that's one good thing about them. A little bit more intake and exhaust flow, along with when you get your heads ported. So my take on these heads are that I will probably make the same or a little bit more power with these heads. I feel that my modern muscle heads from my power level are a little bit too big, and with just the cam, I feel that I would make a little bit more power with these heads. Maybe the same, who knows? But I don't think these heads are gonna make that much difference to my current build right now. The heads, they don't come with any head gaskets or exhaust gaskets, so you're gonna have to buy all those on your own. So here are the flow rates for the Edelbrock heads. They also have a comparison between the 6.1 heads, the Apache, and the Eagle heads. These heads are a lot better than the stock Apache heads. As far as flow rate for my ported modern muscle heads, I'm not entirely sure how much better they are. I'm assuming the modern muscle heads, they flow over 400 CFM. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to really go over. Not a lot of parts. If you have any questions, just post a comment and I'll try my best to answer. With that being said, happy holidays and have a great new year.